Greetings and salutations. I am Cameron Russmore, and I forgot to turn on the light again. This is a continuation of Pillars of Eternity. We're getting into the end game of this. How are we all doing out there? A little bit late, and so I totally forgot that it was a Tuesday. It was a bank holiday here yesterday. And so today was the first day of the working week, and basically I've spent most of the day getting it confused with Monday. So when I finished work, it was like, I'm done. Gonna go lie down for a bit. Then after about a while of lying down, it's like, oh wait, it's not Monday, it's Tuesday. And on Tuesday I should be streaming. So yeah, I'm back. And streaming Pillars of Eternity. Just a bit of a heads up. I'm just checking now. Okay, so this is basically relating to next week's stream, which is on the April 26th. June Spice Wars is going to be released, and I intend on streaming it as soon as I can, give or take. And you know, it's one of them where it's like there's a little bit of annoying thing in the fact that it's going into early access, which should, to a certain degree, help improve the release date. The fact that, you know, they'll definitely get it out on that day, which is when I plan to stream it. The only problem is I don't know what state it'll be in, and also there's also a chance of it being delayed. But at the moment it's still on for unlocking in 6 days time, which if I'm not mistaken, basically that'll be okay, it'll be released the morning thereof. Don't know when I'm going to go live with it. It all kind of depends on when it becomes available, when I wake up on that day, because I'm not working that day, so I might decide to sleep in late, and when I manage to get it downloaded, because there's no indication. Is there any indication? Is there any indication? No. Minimum requirements requires a 64-bit processor and operating system. Additional notes to be announced, so no idea whether it's going to be runnable on my computer. So yeah, and I don't know what it's going to be like, but I am going to see about getting it downloaded and played as soon as I can, which will be sometime next week. Looking forward to that. I know my bank balance isn't, but I am. Yeah, the bank balance can handle it, hopefully. If not, it'll be time to do a donation drive on the stream. What game am I referring to? Dune Spice Wars. Which is a terrible name for a game, if you ask me. It sounds like it's a mashup between Spice Girls and Star Wars, just Spice Wars. But yeah, it's going into early access next week. I'm going to be purchasing and downloading it as soon as possible, and I've taken 3 days off work, so I'm going to be streaming it as much as possible for those 3 days. Depending on how it goes, it could be... First of all, I intend on doing marathon streams. I intend on streaming at least on 2 of those days, but I do have to remember that, you know, I'm in work on Monday, I gotta be back in work on Friday. I don't want to disrupt too much of my other streaming, so I might still end up streaming Pillars of Eternity or whatever else it is that I'm playing at that time on the Thursday. But I have not much else planned for those 3 days. So yeah, it's going to happen as long as the release date doesn't slip. It shouldn't, because it's early access. And welcome in, Retro Ted. How's your day going? How is the household? I do hope everything is well, or better. I thought tonight would be the final Pillar stream. It might be. It very well. The thing is, we've entered the end game. We've entered the point where the game's turned around and so it has said, once you go beyond this point, you're not going to be able to finish any other business. So wrap that up before. But I don't know whether this is like 2-3 hours, or whether it's going to be 5-6 hours, or whether it's going to be another 12-20 hours of content. I just don't know. Same stuff, different day this end. Alright, fair enough. I do hope everybody is feeling better as soon as possible. And things start to pick up. Yep, that closed down. Alright, we are gonna get into the game because don't want to leave it too long. It seems odd. It feels like my games have sort of like come into sync. I've got I finished BioShock on Friday evening. Pillars of Eternity are finishing that this week, hopefully, maybe tonight, who knows. But it's either going to be new game on Thursday or new game on Friday. It's definitely new game on Friday, which will be Resident Evil 7. So we're going back to spooky origins of a Resident Evil game. And dibbly what's it, flibbity flob. After Pillars of Eternity, we'll be going towards remembering the name. No, it's not with Leon. I forget who's the protagonist in that one. Can't remember his name. No, it's not coming to me. Basically, the protagonist is new for Resident Evil 7. I'm mainly interested in Resident Evil 8. The only thing is, it's the same protagonist and it's kind of the follow-on story. So I want to get Resident Evil 7 done and dusted and out of the way, and then go into Resident Evil 8 when I get the chance. I don't want to sort of like start on 8 and then be sort of like, why am I doing any of this? I have a rough idea. I've not been able to keep spoiler free on it, but at the same token, it's all like, yeah, we'll see how it goes. But anyway, right, okay, let's switch that into performance mode and switch over to this. And yeah, the things should be able to. Let's just do a quick audio check, make sure everybody can hear everything. But yeah, this is. I remember last session of this, and it was just talking with this woman for absolutely ages. I think it was the best part of half an hour of dialogue. You were there, Retro Ted, and it was just like, oh, what do you think about this? Or what made you make this choice in your past life? And it's like, I don't fracking know. I wasn't that person. So I feel like I've been judged very harshly. I'm not entirely sure why I'm still picking up coins. You know, it's like, if this is the end game and I can't go back to the shop, unless there's a new game plus. I don't think there's a new game plus. I don't know. Search for Thanos. Theos. Thanos is a completely different thing.
Like a great grave for a soul.
Alright, calm down. What should this be like the last 15 minutes and that's it? I think if I do a playthrough, I'll always answer with the first response. I mean, it's a choice. The thing is, you're not giving half enough information. The Rings of Searing Flame. It's an odd way of distributing loot now, of all times. It seems a bit odd. You know, no other thing has been told. You know, if you were gathering herbs and you click on it and it just get added to the A stash, but that was all. Oh, you also get a ring to go with it. It's a purplish light. Oh. Well, I died. My chest just exploded in purple light.
Look at the size of this place.
Many spirits stir here, edged with anger, violence.
I would have brought a torch if you'd asked.
I don't suppose you could make a few bridges the same way, hmm?
Can you do that again? I had something in my eye. I missed most of it. Of course.
Sarcastic little bastards. Ooh, got a diamond from one of them corpses. Boots of speed. Then we've got an Enfuigan shade. Time to make with the murder.
No murder like this.
Why are you not moving to kill things? Alright, there we go. Audio is fine by the way, cheers. My ears popped earlier and it's like everything seems really loud to me, but including my own voice. Yeah, I get the feeling that there's going to be some big massive reveal at the end of all this, where it's like, aha, here's my plot all along, and you were all a cunning part of it, and it's like, I was not a part of anything. I don't remember anything as to what was going on. Ooh, a purple dot that I touch, and then my chest explodes. Well, that's not good.
You're not getting...
Can't get a good shot with this.
That's me. Killed the Shadow Drake. Great stuff. How are we doing on the level up? We might actually level up before the end. Chalky bits of burn break away between your fingers. Any more purple dots for me to touch? The shadow in the cavern suddenly lengthens and swallows you. When your eyes adjust to the darkness, you find yourself in the midst of what must be another vision. You are surrounded by mists. The ground feels springy under your feet. You imagine that as soon as you take a step, the soil behind you will erase all trace of your passage. As if on cue, the mist before you clear just enough for you to take a couple of steps forward. You do, and the fog closes behind you. You continue for several minutes in this manner, one step at a time, never seeing more than the ground right in front of you. Eventually, rays of light cut through the haze and you find yourself facing a canyon wall. Ida's head twists suddenly as though something had flown in front of his face. What's that? Something whizzes past you. Just as you turn, you catch another whir of movement. Out of the mists flits a shape, small and round, and you see another and another. They trickle in the corners of your vision. You turn back to the canyon wall. The sun shifts along its path, and what looked like a smooth rock face is the hollow of a cave. A figure steps out, its features shifting and changing before your eyes. The figure transforms from male to female, from Orlan to Oraman. Its bones lengthen and its fur recedes into flesh. The only detail that remains constant is a smooth, eyeless face. The whizzing, rushing shapes of the mist converge on the figure, and as they form a spinning cloud, you realize that they are eyes.
You understand the value of a mystery watcher.
Do I?
A buried scroll, a hidden truth. These are my ways. You unravel a thread, Watcher. One you have lost and discovered over generations. And following it to its end has only brought you back to the beginning.
The eyes track you even as they circle the god. Have I been here before? Whale giggles, a strange modulated sound that rises and falls as the god shifts from one form to the next. You search for answers to your past that led you to another mystery, and one grander still. My goal now is to see the souls Theos has trapped. Yes, but what would you do with them?
A nebula of souls, blind and brimming with potential. The answer to Woodika's question at the beginning of yours. What would you do with them?
The thunder clouds are a form of a hedge, casting shadows of movement across the canyon. According to Hailey, it's possible to restore them to the Hollowborn.
A song the world knows and tires of. The droning chorus repeated again and again. Better the improvised melody, the unfolding chant. The listeners sit rapt, and just when they think they have the tune, it changes again. Even the gods require fresh mysteries.
Whale folds its hands, grinning at you with an all-on needle-sharp teeth. The cloud breaks and the torrent of rain washes Whale's features clean. His blank face molds itself again, taking the shape of something you've never seen before. Do not consign the souls to the fate of some god's choosing. You have found them, now, scattered across existence, their destination known to neither god nor mortal. Let them be lost again. New answers to new riddles. Behind him, the sudden downpour has carved new caves into the canyon. You say I shouldn't let the god decide their fate, but it seems you're asking me to do just that.
In a way. But something must be done, and hurling them from the machinery of other schemes is the truest course of action.
But what would that serve?
No end, Watcher. That is the purpose.
But what would happen to the souls?
None know. They could end up anywhere in the realms of gods or mortals, whole or divided. Discovering them again and charting their course through the ether will be a new mystery.
Farewell, Whale.
That is a word for endings, and this is but a crossroads. Even I do not know what you would choose.
Shadows from the new caves melt and spread across the landscape, covering you in darkness. When the light returns, the vision is gone. Alright. Why do I have a feeling I should possibly... Oh wait, no, that's a dead end, isn't it? The lone segment of this bridge rises above the ruins of an ancient city. It looks stable enough, but the wide gap leaves a little room for error. Let's leave for a moment. Where am I trying to go to? Oh, that seems like a terrible idea. Let's do it. Jump to the freestanding segment. Sangi gets a running start and leaps over the gap. However, Sangi cries out upon landing and collapses on the other side of the in a tangle of limbs. Twisted ankle. -25 to reflex. Camping supplies, Spellwood amulet, and the Ring of Overseeing. Where did those go? Oh, yeah, I think. Ability area effect. I like that potential. I think I've already got one though, don't I? No. Probably not worth twisting. Sangi misjudges the distance and falls short. Sangi manages to grab the jutting lip of the bridge, legs dangling over empty space. With a painful gasp, Sangi climbs to safety. You're just not built for that kind of thing, are you? Alright, let's camp here because you're looking like a mess and we've got plenty of camping supplies. Run at the purple dot because I like lighting the place up with fractions of my soul.
Word.
Oh, another shadow drake. How droll.
Your thoughts must.
Doop doop doo doop doop doo.
All right then.
Caught of what? I'm not entirely sure. Let's finish off exploring at least.
Were de bil dan salu.
Evening Ragnarok, how goes it? You're catching me murdering or re-killing a load of Wigan shades. I'm not entirely sure why. They don't appear to like me. But for the most part, it seems just be running through the motions of the end game. Yeah, I don't think I've drank a single potion in this entire run through. The wording on them is just so complicated that I don't have the motivation to try and figure out what half of them mean. Which I feel is a bit of a failing of the game. I'm not too bad just eating tea before Iron Harvest stream. Ah, cool. How's Iron Harvest going? Oh, that's not a way that I can go. Okay. It's a real-time strategy in World War II alternative history, if I'm not mistaken. With mecha and the like. The machine.
ready to take the oath, to spread the word of the gods to the lost and heathen.
Sure, why not? Ring of Unshackling by 3. Why do I have a feeling that this game is just priming me for sort of like end game stuff, and it just seems a little bit weird that it's all like, oh yes, you may need these things.
You to remain loyal to the gods in this.
And you can trust me all you want.
You will have greater powers than me to answer to.
Oh, I've already answered to the gods.
Is there any other choice?
You've already killed me once.
This is a missionary, same as I was. Taught the wrong things as I was.
Alright, calm down.
Osionis. They have held off many would-be invaders.
You are ready to give a confession?
I am ready to hear one from you.
I think I heard that last week. The last session. Oh wow. It's just like, hey, have a level up. Because yes, it's dangerous to go alone. Take this. Unbending. Sure, let's take unbending, why not? They also want to speak to me about something. Bloodlust, what does that do? Right. Oh, yeah. It's passive effects, plus 20% attack speed for 9.2 seconds. Eh? But no, it's here where it's like increasing his or her speed temporarily in battle once he has personally downed at least 2 enemies, and it's like, okay, I'm not expecting multiple enemies in this. The barbarian reflexively lashes out at anyone who hits him or her in melee, doing raw damage to anyone unfortunate enough to be on the receiving end. Passive. Characters hitting self, 10 to 16 damage. I'll take that one. Why not? Seems all a little bit too much, too little, too late. Alright, don't take a rank in survival. Take a rank in stealth. Why not? Swift aim, no, because of a lack of accuracy. Takedown, no. Play dead, no. Probably be a bad idea. When the animal range falls over and appears to be dead, cannot be targeted for a limited time. While playing dead, the companion regains endurance. I mean, that might be useful. Nightbot's really going for it this evening. We'll take that. It's defensive on both the ranger and the animal companion, get bonus defense against AoEs. Why not? Is this a... Oh, this is a chant. Provides a barrier to soak up damage against the chanter's allies. Sounds like a plan. Oh, wrong button. I've done this so few times in this entire playthrough. Is it that one? Edit chance. There we go. Let's get rid of that and put... No, I wanted that. Get rid of that. Click on that one and then click on that. Right. Skip it. Whenever a rogue is contributing to flank deflection on the target, the victim is also distracted. I'll take it. Well, there's no level 4, 5, 6 powers. 6 powers. I'm on to 7. By siphoning the powers of the enemy's souls, the cipher is able to slow them down and increase his or her own speed. And, the cipher is able to isolate a single enemy from the world, leaving them unable to act, but also unable to be affected by outside parties. Well, take them both, because that's what we can do. Right, Nida, what do you want?
Yes.
Doesn't that just beat all? Here I was, wondering all this time whether all these terrible things were people's fault or the gods. Turns out they might be the same thing. Wonder how things would have gone different 15 years ago if the Raid Sarens had been told their god was made in some forge or kiln someplace. Would we still have gone to war?
It was the god who made them believe that they were right. I doubt they would have fought if they knew he was fallible. No point in wondering about what we'll never know. People were starving. They would have rebelled sooner or later.
I could see the rebellion still happening, but I don't know that they would have invaded.
He looks down at the ground, drumming his fingers against his side restlessly. When he speaks again, it seems half to himself.
I don't know. When Woden left for war, we, had a fight. As brothers will.
What about?
About him going off to war. He was set on it. My parents warned him. They said you get a new country with every trip across the border, but your god, you only get the one.
They said you get a new country with every trip across the border, but your god, you only get one. You only get one of what? Don't know what he means by that.
Me? I didn't know who was right. All I knew was I didn't want him to go. It's the same for families as it is for gods. You only get the one. I said every vicious thing I could think of, trying to change his mind. He brushed it off. Just got me madder, of course, him being so calm. He said I should come with him, but he'd understand if I didn't want to. I told him he'd better be able to face his god one day and answer for what he'd done. He said he'd keep that in mind. And then he was gone.
My leather-plated brigandine arrived, and it is very nice, though I don't think it will fit well over my gabison. Fair enough. You planning to go again to war against a god at some point? It's not something that I think that I would have much use for in my day-to-day life. That's all I know. What do you use it for?
By the time I'd cooled off, months had passed. One morning it dawns on me that my brother always knew better than me. If he was so sure of what he was doing, then I should be there with him. I packed my things and was on the road that same morning. Of course, what I didn't know then was he'd already changed his mind. By that time, he was dead on that field.
Do you think he went to Edwin because of what you'd said to him?
Crossed my mind. You live in a place like Gilded Vale. You don't have a whole lot else to do other than think about things you don't want to think about.
And greetings, Mackett. Greetings indeed.
I hope that wasn't it. I hope he went there because it's what he thought was right. But it seems I'm not meant to know.
So if you'd left with him, you'd have known why he changed his mind.
If I'd have left with him, we'd both be dead, so I don't know why I bother thinking about it. I found my own way in the end, and it wasn't my brother's and it wasn't my God's. I don't know if it was right. But I couldn't abide what Widewin was doing to his own. God or not.
You go to the lab, so you have to have actual armor, as 90% of systems require physical representation of armor. Can't just stick a tin can on your head then. I mean, it's a physical representation of armor. I'm not sure. The thing is, I'm never too sure. You know, it's one of them. I'm not mocking people who are into that kind of thing. It just seems, one of them where it's like, if I want to be in full tin plate, so you take a tin of beans and you put it on your head. You're wearing a representation of tin plate. Just might not be all that serious.
I don't regret it. Whether Widewin was Aothis, well, it hardly seems to matter after what we just heard. All these questions I've been trying to figure out. I think I just missed my brother.
He smiles faintly, and when he breathes, the air seems to flow more freely through his lungs. Let's be on our way.
Still one more mess we gotta straighten out. Come on then. I still owe you one.
Nobody else wants to talk to me? Oh, wait, no. We all go. The statue is warm to the touch. Oh. You've come to a circular room, grand and domed, its walls lined with adthra and trimmed with copper. At the far end of the great pillar of adthra pierces the floor from below like a ragged spike. Its shimmering texture gives the illusion of boundless depth. Your thoughts are yours, and not yours, and they are all questions. I would use German sausages as armor. If anyone asks, just describe it as the worst armor you can get. I have seen people use saucepans as helmets, and once in a friend saw a guy wearing a pair of woks as a armor for reenactment once. Fair enough. I suppose people are taking it as seriously as they desire. It's one of them. It's not like if you can get something that's reasonably accurate, don't see any problems with it. It's just one of them where it's like, as somebody who's not always had a lot of money for hobbies, especially. It's one of them where it's like, I like hobbies that are cheap. I have very expensive vices, and I like hobbies, and I have a few hobbies that have turned out very expensive, but at the same token, I like ones that are cheap enough to get into. And that way, you know, you can give it a try, and if you enjoy it, then you can run with it and spend as much money as possible. But at the same token, you know, it's very difficult to gauge sometimes when, you know, so like sat on the outside looking in, and it's like, oh yeah, I've just picked up a new piece of armor. It only cost me like £100 to get it fashioned for me, and it's like, only 100, and you're using it for okay. You just have to have it. It just seems a little bit daunting from the outside. Whereas if, you know, you see somebody running around with a tin of beans on their head, it's like, all right, what's that supposed to represent? Well, it's tin. It's, you know, plate armor because it's a tin hat or something, and yeah, just makes it seem slightly less expensive, but also slightly more ridiculous, which I'm not entirely sure people will want. At the base of the pillar stands Theos, a look of concern on his face as he notes your approach. You have something you want to ask him, one question above all others, spinning madly in your mind, but you don't dare ask it yet. You need some admission from him first, some hint on the veracity of your suspicions.
You are far from your post, Inquisitor. What brings you here?
Your mind races, waiting at different angles of approach, your emotions barely in check. Yeah, that can be as cheap or as expensive if you like. I have a back and breastplate. It is very nice and not heavy compared to the chain shirt. Only experience I have of chain shirts is when I was in high school. Can't remember the name of the kid, but we're not going to dox him online. But he was a scrawny little kid, and we got some chainmail and a sword from some local museum or something or other, and they'd lent it to the school for, you know, sort of like demonstration purposes. And so there was some newspaper photographer who was going to come and sort of like take some pictures, and so we got this kid into, and we were kids at the time, we got this kid into this chainmail armor and went out, took the photos, blah blah blah. Came back in, he tripped on the stairs, fell over, and because of the weight of the chainmail, he couldn't actually get back up. So it was me and Magcat just having to heave him up by the shoulders just to get him back on his feet again, and just continue wobbling to the classroom to get changed back into his clothes again. Yep. I recall trying to sheath the sword as he struggled to get back up. Seen that happen before. The thing is, it's one of them where it's like, I appreciate, you know, it's just one of them where it's like, why would you wear armor that is going to be a detriment where you can't actually stand up in it? Also, I'm pretty sure it's probably not good for you if you're wearing armor that you can't stand up in, can't get yourself up in if you've fallen over. It's probably not doing you any favors just walking around in it. Also potentially very dangerous if you fall over and, you know, some wood somewhere and your face lands in the puddle and you can't get it out because of how much armor you're wearing. It's probably not good for your health. Was the entire Inquisition based on a lie? Go for the throat. Just go for it.
The Inquisition was based on the need to cut the flesh from a rotting wound.
What is this place?
We are in a sanctum holy to Utica. There are others like it in service to the other gods. I come here often to pray for her counsel, and in this space I may be assured that she hears me.
Welcome in, J-Station. Turtling is a valid defense technique. I mean, it may be a valid defense technique, but it's also, you know, just... it doesn't look very noble and knightly. It was around the same time one of our other friends got a ceramic stab vest and laid down, then realised they couldn't get up. Yeah, being smart is important. Not all LARPers subscribe to that method. I mean, not a lot of people subscribe to the smart is important. Was Iovara telling the truth?
That woman sought only to destroy the foundations of peace and civility that my people sacrificed everything to build.
All these statues, who are they of?
They are monuments to Woodica's greatest servants among my people. I hope to join them myself one day, but my work is not yet complete.
The machine behind you, what does it do?
It has many uses, but its purpose is to bring structure to the chaos that surrounds it.
You're shaking now, having lost all patience for tact. No more evasions, you have to know. Everything you believed, everything you have done for the gods. Did you lie to me when you said the gods could end suffering? Theos says nothing. Are there no gods?
What is a god? A higher power? A rewarder of good deeds and punisher of the wicked? Something men can turn to in their darkest moments when their days seem only like bridges from one tragedy to the next. Our gods are all these things.
With Theos' every word, you find yourself losing control of the bouldering cauldron of rage and doubt and fear and hopelessness until you can take it no more. Are there no gods?
We are in a sacred place within earshot of the gods themselves. This is not the time. You've been through much these past few months.
With maddening calm, Theos puts his index finger to his lips.
You will return home and you will rest. When you feel you have recovered, you may rejoin us at the trials. The Inquisition is far from over, and I will have need of you. There are many who continue to spread the lies of the apostate. The Inquisition will not end until we have pronounced judgment on all of them.
His eyes linger on you, and there is no mistaking the threat behind it, and your rage shrinks to the image of an iron wheel in your mind, monolithic and caked in with the dry blood of thousands. You do not ask your question again. The end. Who the fuck are you?
How did you find it?
Find what? I didn't. It was Lady Webb.
Another in a string of acts of petty defiance. For all her knowledge, she always preferred spite over reason.
Within earshot of the gods. I take that as no, then. She loved you.
Then she should have obeyed. I ask one thing of all my followers. She was incapable. A waste of rare talent and intellect.
Her talent and intellect were too great for her to live as your servant.
What of your cohorts, then? They have followed you to their deaths. Is it loyalty that brings them here? Or is it, as my agents suggest, that they have no direction of their own? You worshipped Aethys, did you not?
Your spies are good. What gave me away? The cape?
Yet when your god needed you the most, you chose your country.
Idethran's irritated.
We were being invaded. Not by anyone who was acting like a god.
Then I should think your hometown gave you a hero's welcome when you returned.
Theos gives a thin, patronizing smile.
They made cake. Hard to blame people for losing faith when it's the gods who are misbehaving.
The gods argue over how best to prevent Kith society from destroying itself. These disruptions would not be necessary were mortal instinct not so diseased. You are far from home, dwarf.
Theos looks down at Sangi.
I knew my hunt would send me a long way from Masuk. It was a challenge I was glad to undertake for my village.
A journey, then? It must be of some import to take you so far and to last so long.
It's important to Masuk, and so it's important to me.
Theos returns, and the devil of Karnak stare with contempt. He shakes his head.
A murderer given life beyond her body, beyond her own selfish purpose. My dear, you embody the very reasons Kith should not play with the tools of the gods.
Last I checked, it was your gods who set us up to destroy each other.
Your city was spared by a god. It was destroyed by Kith, who took matters into their own hands. Such are the excesses my order seeks to correct.
By tearing the souls out of little babies? That's some strong medicine.
Strong and lasting, the way it must be. We do not indulge the whims of bloodlust as you do. All we do is for the sake of a cure.
Theos regards Maynard.
And the lost gift-bearer. You have been many things in this life, all because you fear what you really are.
Last I checked, the Ingwithans didn't make you a god. You want to tell me you don't have any regrets of your own?
There is no greater calling than the spread and protection of our faith. I regret nothing in service of that cause.
Then you haven't been looking hard enough.
Or perhaps I have merely witnessed the alternative. You are here because you are lost. The gods cannot reach everyone, I'm afraid. May you fare better in your next lives.
He directs his gaze at you.
I gather you have had your soul awakened. Why else would you shadow my footsteps like some stray mongrel? You think I have something to offer you, but our business was concluded long ago.
One of us is going to die in this room. You may as well admit your lie to me before that.
I answered your questions once. That your soul is not fit to accept the answers is of little concern to me. I lied to no one. Not to you, not to anyone. The gods are real. They are everything we need them to be, and the world is better for it.
You denied a generation its place in the world.
The heart of this country has skipped a beat. Nothing more. I have done far worse. I plunged the peaceful kingdom of Telosus into civil war. I slew the monarch of Desantio, whose people never knew hardship under his rule, and replaced him with a cruel despot who brought them to ruin. When plague arrived at the great city of Arborensis, I saw to it that the cure did not. They piled their dead outside the city in heaps that rose above their walls.
Nothing could justify these atrocities.
That's where you are mistaken.
No, that's where you're mistaken.
There was a time, back when your soul was still a shapeless mist, when the world believed only in false gods. Thousands of them. Gods that told them to take slaves. Gods that told them to make war upon their neighbors and devour the slain. Gods that told them to burn their children alive and cover themselves in the ashes as a sign of their faith. But all that changed when they learned of the true gods. Our gods. All those misshapen, bestial instincts melted beneath the radiance of our god's majesty. You could see it in their eyes. That dull emptiness replaced with the glimmer of a kindled spark.
Teaching them that there were no gods would have achieved the same purpose.
And replaced it with one far worse.
No, not really.
Have you imagined this existence? The one the apostate would have created. We are not all so virtuous as she. Without our gods, the most wicked, the most tyrannical, they would take that power for themselves.
And they will be slaughtered because that's what heroes do.
But more than that, it would be a hollow existence. All mysteries forever unanswered. All purposes constructed from meaninglessness. No endings to bring closure. Only a wheel, turning without mercy, grinding our spirits to dust.
Theos no longer looks at you as he speaks. The reflection of the ancient machine flickers and dances in his eyes. You underestimate people.
For all my years, I have seen exactly what they are capable of. What the apostate asked was beyond any man. All I have seen, the millennia of experience. I will not be dissuaded from this course. This is the only way.
Then you must be stopped.
You are not the first to say that, nor will you be the last. As long as the cycle churns, my work will continue, unbroken. With your soul and thousands of others, I will see this world purged of its suffering.
By essentially killing everybody by the sounds of it.
Hear me, Woodica. Your servant calls for aid.
He puts his hands low on either side as a welcoming an unseen guest. He shuts his eyes and casts his face skyward. Oh wait. Has the game crashed? Oh no, there we go. Wodica's judge and Wodica's headsman. I'm getting mullet over here. Run away! Oh no, I got down. I'm not looking too good. You're not looking too good either. I know, you're down. Let's do the healy things. You may want to back up a little. Oh, it's Hydra. I forgot that he gets back up. Time, parasite, why not? Yes, yes, low health.
My mind.
That's one of them down.
Lead the way.
And then they exploded.
I'm here.
After an easy mark.
This is no fair trial at all. Objection. I mean, it's not a fair trial. Got to shoot for the Iron Harvest stream. Hope your stream goes well. No music for the BBG fight, really? I mean, apparently so. I think it's so that the whole drumming on ringing of the bell seems more predominant. Or something broke. One of the two. Alright, you could really do with not being dead, because... Well, I've not been using potions this far into the game. I'm not gonna start now. Maybe I should have done. Run away!
My bow's ready.
Run away! Oh, you are not running very fast. They've got long legs.
Sure. Can't get a good shot with this.
No, not that one. We go for this one. Make them explode! Yay! They died! Now we just need to take care of Theos, who is fully back on his feet. Stun him, stun him, stun him. Okay, don't stun him. Die then. We got 9 hit points left. We can do this! Run away! Run away! Shoot him.
I wish you.
What are you doing? Shoot him! Don't stab him! Oh. The party has died. Load. The bells! The bells! Somebody drank all the bells! It's a type of whiskey for anybody who's unfamiliar.
Rock 10!
Okay, so let's start off with the judge. And you guys run over there. Could you hit him? Thank you. Oh, that stings. Well, the tanks are still up at least. All the DPS is down, but the tanks are still up. We can do this! We can do this! We can't do this. Jeez. Fuckity fuck fuck. Whee! That was even shorter than last time. You can always pop it down to story mode. I might just do that. Because this is whole new levels of bullshit if I don't take out Theos first, but then my ass is getting handed to me. I just wish this autosave was after this bit. Maybe the game, you know, for once, when a new enemy appears, it loaded it up with on pause. Don't think I can while I'm in combat. Right, okay. You go after that one. You go after that one. You and you and you and you and you move over here. Right, kill this guy. Is he down? One of them annoying little things where it's like the chanter really does rely on getting their chants up. There we go, finally. I survived long enough to be able to do this. Summon the dragon!
I feel like
You need the heals.
these wounds.
And I got KO'd. Back over to this one. Okay. Let's focus on this one. Sengi, run away. Okay, don't run away, just drop down dead.
Not now, Adair.
Alright, what do you want him to do instead? He just got pummeled. Well, you're all on hope.
Bury me at sea.
Your will.
Run away! The mystical barrier stops your progress from going in this direction. Run away! Can I? No, I can't do anything to you. I don't have the points for this. Here, have your soul ignited. I think we missed. Crossbow to the face. Come on, you can do it.
Shed no blood.
You got 8 hit points left. Oh, you ran out of hit points. Load. Load. So yeah, that time it went slightly better, but it's one of them where it's like, nah. No big potions in the bag. Immunity to big statue potion. Not that I know of. I was mentioning this just while I was playing through the stream earlier. It's like I've not used any potions in this game whatsoever. I might have, potions to like win the game, and I just don't know that they exist because it's one of them where it's like if I go into this. I've got potions in here. I don't know what any of them do, and they're not very clear. That one's fairly clear. Eldritch Aim, 15 accuracy for 10 seconds. I don't think some of them last 10 seconds. Damage reduction, 3. Concentration, 30 for 45 seconds. Could be useful. But trying to get them to even use their basic heals while in combat is sort of like problematic. Potion of the Lengraf's displaced image. Which ones of these are going to be useful? Trying to down them and figure out exactly which one's best at this precise moment in time. I'm basically going to be taking this down a little. Because I can't be arsed sitting here for the next couple of hours. Difficulty changes will take effect on any map. Difficulty changes will take effect on any map you have not yet visited. Does that mean I'm stuck on this difficulty? Yes, save changes. That is the lousiest difficulty slider I've ever seen. See, I know the problem. When this guy goes down, he's going to explode, and that's going to sting like a bitch.
Leave it to me.
Run away. Range people, shoot him.
Yes.
Okay, maybe it has made it easier. They've got an anti-cheese device. LOL. thought it was going a little bit quick. The game hadn't put itself into slow mode. Then he exploded. As you feel, as your feet rest at the body of Theos, hollow, the dense, wrinkled shape, shaped by the silence, the shouldering of an eternal burden, now smoothed across his color-drained face. His soul remains still for the moment, defenseless, its energy expended in defeat. It lies sprawled across his body like a death shroud.
After journeying for lifetimes, I can't imagine his failure, knowing it was all for nothing.
Thousands of souls he has tortured. Would that he could live those sufferings 1,000 times himself.
At some point, you have to look at the things your god is telling you to do, and ask yourself if it's worth it.
Think he got sick of it all after a couple thousand years? Or did Woodica keep him on the leash?
Can't help but feel sorry for him. To live so long without a fresh start, with no chance to wonder what's around the corner.
Explore Theos' soul. With a deep breath, you plunge into Theos' soul, and where in Blackenbury it had been a maze of narrow corridors and dead ends, it's now an expansive and borderless, its walls crumbling into heaps like the ruins of the Ingwith as you pass through them. You travel for what seems like ages, rushing into a known destination, a memory you glimpsed eons before. At last you see it, no more than a pinprick of light at the end of a long tunnel, expanding slowly at first, then quickly as you near. You come out in the room you are standing in now, but it is new and pristine and filled with people, thousands of them, all turned towards a great Adler pillar and the machine that encases it. Theos stands at the machine, and you are one with him now. You look at the crowd, at the faces of shriveled old men and cherub-cheeked little girls, at mothers bouncing infants to quiet them, and fathers clasping their children's restless hands and watching you with somber acceptance. A woman with tears in her eyes gives you a small nod. You turn back towards the machine, your breaths constricted beneath the weight of unwanted knowledge, preparing yourself to set out alone on the journey without end. You close your eyes and open them again to find the machine still in front of you, beckoning. You take your place in front of it and place your hands over the large mechanical disc at the base of the great crystal column, and speak a single word. Giant rings creak to life, building speed, setting an array of carved draconic mouths aglow, and sending tremors through the platform beneath you. The entire room shakes now with the force of the accelerating machine, all sounds drowned out in a deep, deafening thrum. Brilliant tendrils of light arc outward from the pillar in all directions, and you look over your shoulders to see them engulfing the crowd, burning them brightly like hot iron. One by one the tendrils disappear, leaving ashen effigies of people where people once stood, many of them disintegrating into grey heaps under the stress of the tremors. You look above the Adler pillar, and a glowing spherical mass has begun to coalesce atop the column where the arcs converge. It grows and pulses, translucent and bulbous like some immense chrysalis, slowly suspended in slow rotation as being spun from the arcs of light. When the last arc disappears, the spectral mass hangs for a moment, no longer rotating. So bright you must shield your eyes with an outstretched hand, and it seems to you as though it is looking at you. You bow your head in acknowledgement and look back up to see it melt into the pillar like warm candle wax. The pillar flares with a flash of light bright as the sun itself, then fades to darkness. The machine slows down to an abrupt halt, and with the last echo of grinding cogs has passed, the chamber is still. and you are alone. From all sides, reality begins to bleed through the memory, and you find yourself in your own skin once more, looking down on Theos' lifeless body. You sense a listlessness to Theos' soul, an overwhelming fatigue that hinders its immediate escape, and it makes it vulnerable to manipulation. You feel as though your victory has given you some kind of hold over it, and you are able to do with it as you please. Theos ix Achenon, there can be no forgiveness for your deeds, only justice. You shall escape judgment no longer. You regard Theos' soul, still and subdued, and your pronouncement seems to empower your spirit. Your will seems to you now thick. Your will seems to you now a thick chain, and you wind it around Theos, constraining all movement, eliminating any possible last means of resistance. You call to mind the eternal prison, the vast empty cavern and cells of Adra, vacated by souls that chose to betray themselves in order to escape the infinite abyss of hopeless self-reflection. You choose a vacant pillar and pour your consciousness into it, creating a perfect, inescapable hollow with space for one. And now you gather up Theos' soul and bear it to the pillar like some bodiless jailer conjured by justice itself. You can feel its resistance now, the abject terror radiating from it, but your binding will not be broken. When at last it is sealed away, you begin to recede back to your center. You could almost swear you hear a distant, wordless cry for mercy. The pillars, at long last! I mean, the pillars have been there all along. They've been there for eternity. We just weren't aware of them. Within the stillness that follows, a single word echoes in your mind. A word you spoke when you were one of Theos. A word you spoke when you were one with Theos in an ancient memory. You realize it is a word that activates the machine.
Hey.
What?
Theos, he had hold of your soul from a long time back, seems like. You get what you needed from him?
I'm beyond those needs now.
Feels good, doesn't it? Got enough to worry about as it is. You'll be feeling better soon then. Good. That's real good. You got it figured out what you're going to do about all that?
Not yet.
Got a lot of people out there thinking they've been abandoned by their gods. There's not much that'll put the fear in you more than that. You can take my word for it. If it was in my power, and I know it's not, but if it was, I'd find a way to give them the courage to face it. Not because they think there's some god looking out for them, but because they've just got it in them. And after what you've been through, though, I'm sure you got your own ideas. Better make it good.
I still have no idea what the best choice is in any of
I
this.
thought I'd see something like this in my travels. Lends a little perspective, doesn't it?
Perspective to what?
Theos may be gone, but his crimes, the wounds he has inflicted, remain.
Working on it.
Yet before you lies an opportunity to heal, to restore, Only through the healing of families, repairing the bonds between parent and child, reforging the shattered links between generations, can the deerwood be knit whole once more.
You're right.
People will long remember the legacy. Let them also remember the healing that followed.
Farewell.
Certainly.
Hey,
I think we need to go to the machine and talk to it. By the way that I pressed tab and Theos is still there. With your companions bearing witness, you step up to the place where Theos once stood before his people long ago. The great machine lies in front of you, idle, ready. You have seen this machine and others like it in operation. You understand how it works. It was a device for directing souls. As a watcher, it will be a simple matter to influence that direction, though as big as the machine is, it may be the last thing you ever do. Speak the command to activate the machine. There's a shrieking of stone grinding against stone as old cogs loosen and begin to turn. You have only moments before the souls will be sent into the Adra vein. This will be your only chance at redirecting them. Entropically disintegrate the souls, ending their existence. Distribute the essence to existing souls in Drywood to strengthen them. Disperse the souls to an unknown location. Return the souls to the bodies that they were intended for, and send the souls back into the reincarnation cycle. We're going to return the souls to the bodies that they were intended for. I think that's what I feel is the best choice. It's like everybody who's still got a body that might help, then go for it. You close your eyes and expand your perception outwards, taking in the immense totality of the tens of thousands of souls orbiting the chamber. Your grasp on the souls is tenuous. You find yourself fighting to keep all within your influence, and you feel them slipping away from you as the machine gains speed. A brief moment comes when it feels as though you hold them all at once, and their force is so great it feels as though they will tear you apart. In that moment, you dedicate your entire being to bending their orbits, channeling their flow in a new direction.
At your command, the ancient device became your instrument, spinning to life with deafening resonance and gathering up the swirling essence like thread on a great spindle. There, in the pale pulsing glow of the machine that set you on this path long ago, you summoned all your strength, focusing on your objective and blocking out all else. With a single concussive blast that rocked the chamber and sent you tumbling to the ground, you freed the souls from their stasis. Exhausted, your consciousness slipping away, your last sight was of the machine, dark and dormant. Then your eyes closed, and sleep welcomed you at long last. After coming to and searching for some time, you discovered the route Theos used to enter Sun in Shadow, and embarked on a long and arduous ascent back to the surface. You emerged in Ter Evron after days of tunneling through the rubble Theos had left behind, and when you stepped into the daylight, you were faced with a different Deerwood than the one you had left. At your direction, the souls diverted by Theos were guided back to the vessels originally meant for them. For the first time, parents of hollow-born children woke to the cries of their infants and looked into their eyes to see them staring back. People fell to their knees where they stood, thanking Helia or Mogren or even Aethys for their forgiveness of whatever guilt they felt they bore. But for all the relief that had come to some parents, others only found new grief. For many thousands of Hollowborn had died during Wideone's legacy, many by their parents' own hands. For those children, there would be no homecoming. Yet the last Hollow birth was in the past now, and those parents willing to risk trying for a new child were frequently rewarded, often with twins. Many felt they saw Helia's hand in it, and the year would be remembered as the Year of Helia's Splendor. Though you had killed Lord Radric in his throne room, so strong was his drive to rid his land of Eothasians that he returned to life as a death guard, a deathless crusader for his brutal cause. With the remains of his humanity stripped away, Radric came to see all the people of Gilded Vale as worshippers of Eothas, and one day he led his forces into the village personally to see them all purged from his lands. Gilded Vale was left a hollow shell, its buildings ruined, and its people slaughtered. Even travelers and would-be squatters knew better than to take refuge inside its borders. Lord Radric returned to Radric's Hold, where he remained, keeping eternal watch over his barren domain. Following the assassinations of Duke Avar Wolfgren and Lady Webb, Defiance Bay was thrown into political upheaval. In the ensuing weeks, the streets had become the domain of looters and blackguards. Few dared to step outside their own doors alone or unarmed. But order was soon re-established by the Knights of the Crucible, who, despite their depleted numbers, had gained favor in the public eye for their role in unraveling Widewind's legacy. They were quickly reinforced by returning forces from Fleetbreaker Castle. Having seen both the ills and the promise of animancy, internally the Knights quietly began a more cautious exploration of the new science. Depleted in numbers but bolstered by their newly forged stock of soul-augmented weaponry and a small contingent of forged knights, the Knights of the Crucible would soon become an order few in Defiance Bay would dare to cross. But the opportunity to build upon their newfound power proved too great a temptation for the High Justice. What was at first a measured approach to animancy soon gave way to a rapid buildup of armaments. The High Justice would eventually seize control of the city for his order and place Defiance Bay under indefinite martial law.
I think I got the bad endings,
The
guys.
destruction of the machine atop Ter Noaneth spelled the end of the reanimated corpses in Heritage Hill. Though at first few were willing to venture into the abandoned district, it was soon cleaned out and rebuilt. The district's horrors still fresh in people's minds, it would be some time before it was fully repopulated. But eventually the lure of cheap prime land would all but erase the memory. The Duke's assassination at the apparent hands of an animancer had caused catastrophic rioting in the streets of Defiance Bay. But those who had escaped the melee and the palace hearings remembered the testimonies of the strange guest who had shown up that day and absolved animancy, implicating the leaden key instead. The rumor spread quickly, and soon the popular belief was that the assassin had been a leaden key spy. When the legacy had lifted, people came to see it not as a sign that the riots had been according to the gods' wishes, as Theos had hoped, but as a confirmation that animancy had never been the source of the problem in the first place. Deerwoodans instead convinced themselves that the riots had somehow purged Defiance Bay of leaden key spies, and that the end of Widewind's legacy was their well-deserved reward. The rage against animancers was quickly forgotten, and those who had survived were permitted to return to Brackenbury Sanitarium and rebuild it so they might resume their studies. The Hollowborn Scourge ended, and healthy children were born once more in the villages of the White March. Yet this new generation displayed an uncanny vigor and a hunger for exploration. In time, they would push across the White March, establishing new towns and restoring forgotten settlements. What had once been a region in decline became a thriving frontier, known for its famous artisans and explorers. Under Tana's guidance, Stalwart's mines were restored, albeit slowly and with half a dozen accidents. However, this did not forestall the arrival of scores of prospectors, many of them brigands and outlaws, and all of them eager to profit from the White Forge. By the time Stalwart reopened its mines, half a dozen others had been excavated in the nearby peaks. The lawless men and women who ran them became a constant source of competition and violence for the beleaguered village. The opening of Durgan's battery created ample opportunities for the smugglers that already prowled the mountains. The law-abiding villagers of Stalwart did their best to bar the gates against these ruffians, yet they somehow found a way into the village, where they spit in the streets and shouted over games of dice. While the villagers fretted and gossiped about their rowdy visitors, few noticed Owina's midnight errands, or the extra coin that passed to her as she served food and drink to the boisterous patrons. And while stalwarts celebrated the discovery of the White Forge, they spoke little of the Watcher. Eventually, the Watcher's name faded from their tales, even while the White Forge blazed on. Harmka's death had brought the Devil of Carrick little satisfaction. In time, her taste for vengeance soured. What replaced it was a hunger to feel something, anything, new. Summer had thinned the snowpack twice over when she felt the joint at her elbow first begin to stiffen. She turned her back on the hopes of animancy and civilization and walked east. She pushed through the mountains, past Raid Saris, and into the broad plains of Ishamiddle. She had forgotten what it was like to simply journey, no goal or destination in mind. Though she felt nothing more than the steady thump of her feet on the road, the endless horizons and grassy meadows were new to her. She measured her time in the gradual rusting of her body and was satisfied. Her movements slowed, but so did the world around her. Waist-high grasses undulated intact in the wind, as gradual as the tides. Sparrows and blackjays made steady pilgrimages across the sky, each flap of their wings a solemn salute. She could hardly move when she found something she had never seen before, the ocean. With the last of her strength, she pulled herself beneath the water, content at last to feel the movement of currents and the constant caress of the waves. Maneha never found the salt well, but she found a kind of peace in her duties as a gift-bearer and in the ebb and flow of her journeys. As she traveled and accepted burdens from Andra's supplicants, she saw in their eyes a kind of peace that she had not previously noticed. It was faith, not that Andra had freed them of their pain, guilt, and regret, but that she would, a little more each year. With that realization, Maneha learned to accept that Andra's ways were as gradual as they were inexorable. The fortress of Cadnua emerged as a bastion of security in the midst of an untamed land, becoming the envy of every thane and earl in Deerwood. Legend grew over time of its impregnability, and stories of formidable invaders easily scattered by the keep's defenses became popular around the hearths of Deerwoodinians. Likewise, it also became a beacon to travelers, merchants, and visiting dignitaries alike. Reputed as the finest fortress in all Deerwood, people would journey from near and distant lands alike to experience its fabled hospitality and grandeur. Pallegina had missed the opportunity to complete her mission from the Duke's Bells. The Deerwood's trade with Air Glanfath remained weak, but the Valian republics were unable to enter Glenfathan markets. For her repeated insubordination and loss of lucrative trade, Pallegina was cast out of the Brotherhood of Five Sons. She traveled north of the Eastern Reach, where she tried to avoid trouble as a caravan guard, but she could not escape the strange looks and unwanted attention her appearance brought. Adair chose not to return home to Gilded Vale. Still most comfortable far from cities, he settled in Deerford, which, like many towns in the Deerwood, was beginning the slow process of rebuilding. Believing now that it was the obligation of Kith to be the leaders their gods had not, Adair was soon named mayor of the town, and under his guidance, Deerford soon began to prosper. He expelled the last of the Scanites from the area and drew new settlers with the offer of land, a trick he had learned from someone he otherwise preferred to forget. With each passing day, Deerford would come to more closely resemble the Gilded Vale of Adair's childhood, the one worthy of its name. When the dust settled in sun and shadow, Aloth looked upon the remains of Theos Ixarchanon, his former master. He saw where the Grand Master had gone wrong and what would be required to undo the harm Theos had wrought. With a flick of his wrist, he burned Theos's robe, headdress, and every other symbol of the man's power. Never again, he vowed, should Kith live in fear and blind obedience to an authority they did not understand. Armed with the knowledge and courage he had gained on his journeys with the Watcher, he set out on the long and lonely task of dismantling the Leaden Key. After all that he had learned in the Watcher's company, Kana Rua could no longer see meaning in his pursuit of the Tanvi Oratoa. He decided to leave what remained of it within the depths of the endless paths and return home. Kana bid the Watcher farewell and sailed back to Rawatai, spending the tempestuous journey reflecting on the time he had lost to the pursuit of falsehoods. His family found Kana much changed, his fiery excitement replaced with a weary solemnity. Determined to change his wandering ways, Kana took up a quiet life as a lorekeeper at the college, teaching young students the traditions of their people. With Theos defeated and the souls released from Sun and Shadow, healthy children were born once again in the Deerwood. The grieving mother sought a place where she might do penance for the birthing bell. She returned to Deerford, where, to the astonishment of the villagers, she delivered the first healthy child in over a decade. She remained there, and with each new birth, she saw a measure of hope restored to the Deerwood, and a measure of grace for her own troubled past. Durrance continued to blame Woodica for the atrocities of the Saints' War. Believing Magrin to have been a pawn in the machinations of the Queen that was, and feeling that Theos's expulsion had been a step towards reconciliation with his goddess, Durrance tried for a time to reopen communication with her. When only silence came, he took it as a condemnation of his continued existence. Ultimately, he built a pyre and threw himself upon it, using his own shattered staff as kindling. You and Sagani never found Persok together. The Adra figurine had gone dark by the time they emerged from Sun and Shadow, and it was another month before Sagani finally accepted that Persok's trail had gone cold again. Her search took her beyond the Deerwood and as far as the Living Lands. She saw the great coastal cities of Rawatai and the ruins of Old Valia, absorbing the details of these strange and distant lands. 20 years passed before the Adra figurine finally glowed again. When it did, she followed its signal to a quiet hamlet on the outskirts of Adir. There, she met a young farmer and told her of her past as an elder of Masuk. Sagani returned to a village that had forgotten her face, but remembered her story. Masuk greeted her with cautious warmth, and Sagani found that their ways had become strange to her. She also learned that Kalu had perished of winter fever a few years before, and her middle child, Najuo, had died in a raid. But she found her daughter Yakona a hunter and mother of 3, and her son Malak a builder of mighty walls. In them, she came to find her place in the village, and the familiar contours of a world that had changed in her absence. For you, the death of Theos brought an end to your waking visions, and a silence to the whispers of the past. In their absence, you were able to sleep. The questions of a distant lifetime ceased to trouble your soul. All that remained was what to make of the answer. Unfortunately, you would have little time to contemplate the matter. Soon after your victory at Sun and Shadow, rumors of a monstrous army swept the Deerwood. What first sounded like superstition and drunkards' tales turned out to be much more. Enormous creatures of flesh and iron found you and brought the walls of your keep down upon you.
So, yay, go me, another game finished. Whoop. That is probably the most confusing, spoilerific ending I have ever bear witness to. I say spoilerific, it wasn't many of them, but Alof was like, my old master, Theos. What? I mean, I didn't spend that long with my companions, but at the same token, I don't really recall him ever revealing that little tidbit of knowledge. And also, you know, it's like Said Noor grew in memory to be a bastion for prestige and its insurmountable walls and yada yada yada, and then right at the end it's like, as for your tale, you know, a monstrous army descended upon your keep and just brought its walls down and around you, and it's like, but that contradicts your own closing statement on Said Noor. And then there were so many other companions that I really, really didn't give two hoots about that got a mention. You know, Chase Station, as you say, it was certainly lengthy. It's all, I don't remember all of them. I think it covered most of my companions. But I think it covered them all. Also, you know, you mentioned it's like, well, that's a happy ending. I'd hate to see the bad one. It's Roderick of Roderick's Keep. It's all like, okay, you know, you killed him, great stuff. You took care of that. No, you didn't. He rose again as a death knight and slaughtered the entire village, believing that they were worshippers. And it's like, did we do nothing afterwards? You know, it feels like the end of the game. It's all like, alright, that was it. You were able to sleep and you just slept through the next 6 months and died. But all these other things happened. And it just felt like, you know, the end was very much so like you did nothing to assist in anything else after. You know, it was like, it just feels like that maybe, you know, at the end of the game you might have had a choice to join one of your companions and, you know, help them fulfill. Like Sagni, I didn't have any problems with their narrative. It's just I did not know where to find the guy. I mean, it's all, oh, and after you left the Chamber of the Sun or whatever the smeg it was called, it was like the trail had gone cold and they went off alone and spent years, and it's like, alright, fair enough. Help me out here, you know, would I have not done... I'm very dissatisfied with that ending, if you can't tell. And just so much of it was very much... And I can kind of get behind the fact that, you know, okay, you didn't fulfill and didn't reach the end conclusion of some of your companion stories. But it just seemed very, very vicious. Off the back of... it took your strategy of ignoring the side quests to their natural progression. It possibly did, Silent. I'm not disagreeing with that. It's just like, I had something to, you know... It feels like to me that the priorities of the narrative seem to just be a little bit wrong there. It's like, oh, this world-ending event is happening. Oh, but you want to find a dead village's leader's reincarnated soul the other side of the map. Okay, sure, we'll do that thing and then we'll go back and deal with the world ender. It just... Again, you know, isn't that all side quests? I mean, to a certain degree it is, but, you know, I'm going to go back to it, and I'm going to actually say that, you know, not Pillars of Eternity, been playing it too long. Pathfinder Kingmaker was very good in that. That I feel that, first of all, you weren't bombarded with side quests that you weren't capable of achieving too soon. They kind of gave you the side quests as and when you'd be able to achieve them, so you knew which ones you should be able to do. And it encapsulated all of those side quests in the pocket of that chapter as something to do while waiting for the next major event to happen. You know, the entirety of this game, it's only been one chapter. yes, it's broken down into 3 chapters in terms of the, you know, giving you separated, you know, sort of like bullet points. Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, and epilogue. But it's not given me a very good story in terms of this is a start, this is discovering something about what's going on, this is trying to achieve the end, this is achieving the end, or there's no progression there. It's like straight off, you're dumped in at the deep end of, so like, okay, this is a world, you know this guy and you want to find him, and that's all you do throughout the entire game, is chase after this trail of this one person. And if that is actually as important as the game makes out, that is your only irrefutable end. You shouldn't be going off and doing the side questing. Because if you did that, then this guy is going to have more and more souls tortured. You know, with Pathfinder Kingmaker, it was like, you know, there were 6 chapters, 7 or 8 maybe, I can't remember. I knew that there was at least 6 chapters. And each of them had a clearly definable, this is a goal for this chapter. And so you accomplished that, and it felt like you'd actually accomplished something. Sorry, I'm just trying to scan these. Because I do believe my name should be in here somewhere, but it's very difficult to see if they're... Can slow it down. Can I rewind it? Right, I can stop it. See, I can't. Right. Okay. I'm getting a feeling I know which way this is. So, oh shoot! That's too fast. That's too fast. Go back. Go back. Go back. Oh wait. See, I can't tell which tier I'm in because I've just noticed it went to Kickstarter backers. Right. Okay. Let's go forward again. Let's go back again because I can't spell. Do 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 do. Okay. Start going forwards again. I'm not in that group. Or as far as I'm aware, I'm not in that group. I mean, I can't remember what name I put down. But yeah, in Pathfinder, it's like, this is the goal of this chapter. You go off, you do the side questing because you might as well. You've got nothing else to do at times. And it was a nice sort of like break in there to allow you to do these things. And, you know, some of them it was like, oh yeah, you gotta wait 30 odd days before this happens. So it's like, okay, I got 30 days before this event is going to occur. Run off, do all the side questing, and then still arrive with 15 days spare to the end of chapter event. This, it felt like more along the lines of, so like, okay, here's access to the world, here's all the side quests, let's give you absolutely no guidance on which ones you can and can't do at your level, and then give you a narrative which is like you're chasing after this one person. It just felt more natural to be just focusing on that rather than wandering around the coastline going, has anybody seen this guy? Anybody at all? I appreciate that it's, you know, my strategy of ignoring side quests has come to a natural progressive end. I get that, but at the same token, it basically is I came to the end of my story and then just turned around to everybody else and said, screw you guys, I'm going to bed. And that was it. That's the end of your story as far as everybody else is concerned. You know, you don't investigate rumors about these monsters and iron beasts. You don't help anybody else out on their, you know, it's like, oh, you know, not Sagni, Mainra. She wanted to find some salt thing. I can't remember quite off the top of my head. It went on for far too long. And we just are like, nah, you're on your own, bye. I just feel that, once your thing was over, you just became a bit of a dick. It's like, yeah, thanks for helping me out, but yeah, you're on your own now. Fuck off. And just, I get it. I get that, and if I really, really wanted to go back and make sure that everybody's side quests were in position right for the end. But even the side quest that I did do, the Rhetoric's Hold and the slaying of Rhetoric and him coming back alive, that's something that I had little to no control over, and I did not get a happy ending out of it. The same applies for the Order of the Knights, or whatever the hell they were, in the Defiance Bay. It's like they stepped away from the path of being righteous justice to being martial arseholes. And it's like I didn't get an opportunity to step back in there and go, yeah, you're pushing it a little bit too far, knock it off, or I'm going to usurp you yet again. There was none of that choice in there. It was just like everything that I did seemed, by the end, to turn to shit and be very much like, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what I could have done different, apart from choosing a different faction. But the other two factions in there was basically a bunch of thugs and a bunch of spies. Which one is supposed to be the happy ending there? I don't mind it when, there's a game where it's like there is no happy ending. And you're just choosing the lesser of all the evils, but you need to make it a little bit more obvious as to what choice you're making. Especially, for a game that takes so long to play. I mean, this is session 28? 29 of it or something like that? And at 3 hours a session, that's nearly 100 hours in this game. I have a feeling that I've counted wrong somewhere along. It's 80 to 90 hours in this game for a choice that you made right at the start. If I wanted to then see what the ending would be if I did something different, Rhetoric's Hold, I'd have to go back and try to figure out what was, what I could do differently, do it differently, and if there's like 3 choices, you're having to play through it for, so like 2 or 3 times. It's damn near 300 hours. I mean, admittedly, if you just after changing that one bit and then running to the end, then, you could probably do it in a little bit quicker time, but, I want to see what happens if I do a different faction in Defiance Bay. I want to see what happens if I choose to deal with some other things. It's just adding a lot of time onto the end of the playthroughs that, I don't know. By this point, I'm sort of like, I'm done. I didn't do the White March Part 2 because as much as I enjoyed the White March Part 1, I would say like, I'm done with Pillars of Eternity. I want to move on to something new and different. And also, to a certain degree, anybody who's watching this and hasn't played through the game, you've got something that is completely unspoiled to go off and enjoy, should you choose to. But I don't know. It just feels that ending just it didn't paint anything into a positive light, and I didn't think I'd played the game that badly. I mean, only Idar's and the Whispering, the Grieving Mother's end bits seemed to go the way that they wanted. I mean, there was one guy who basically set himself aflame because he'd been cut off from his god, and it's like, and when I spent so little amount of time actually paying attention to them, I feel it's a little bit No, that doesn't pause it. Okay, I don't think I'd put myself down as Chiron. Because I spent so little time with them, it's all like, okay, so, you know, I don't really care too much for their narrative. But why then bring it to a very depressing and potentially upsetting conclusion right at the end, where it's like, yes, because you ignored this guy, he killed himself. I didn't see Chiron either. We're now waiting to see if I put down one of my other aliases. But if it actually comes up with my name, I appreciate you know what it is. Please don't say it out in chat. Just acknowledge that my name is there in the credits and we'll move on. But so yeah, it's like it's not what you know. I have a feeling that if this game had slightly more accessibility in there, and the quests were laid out in a way that helped you do the achievable without having to resort to some guide online. You know, this is one of the things where it's like, I'm tempted actually, you know, if I was to replay this, I would be tempted to replay this with a walkthrough of the best line for all the quests in what order to be done. Not too much in the way of spoilers for in terms of, one second, just scanning for a name. Nope, I didn't put it under that name either. I saw her name, but it was spelt wrong. I don't think that I'd spell my own name wrong. But I also don't know if that was me, because I actually know, you know, there's somebody out there with exactly my name, and there's possibly other people out there who will invest in this that have my name but spelt wrong, because it's a common misspelling. So I'm kind of question mark over the whole thing. But anyway, by the by, let me get back to my ranting. How much coffee did you have before submitting? I don't know. This was years ago now. I've probably had a lot of coffee before I was submitting. But how much coffee were you expecting? Because if I've got the jitters, then I could spell it wrong if I've had too much coffee. But if I've not had enough coffee, then I'm just tired and got it wrong and didn't notice. We're trying to look for that ideal amount of coffee where I'm neither jittery nor tired, and that lasts for about half an hour once a week, if I'm lucky. So it's funny watching some of these names fly up, because I've just seen a mad cat in there. But I'll have to go back and double check what I actually submitted, if I remember to submit anything, because it was one of them where it's like, as much as I like my naming credits, it's not something that I actually buy the game for. It's like, you know, I kickstarted it because I wanted access to it as soon as, but then it was like, yeah, okay, great stuff. But yeah, okay, that was what I was going on about. Doobly what's it? I think if they had more accessibility in there, would have been helped make it a smoother process, more enjoyable for myself. If I was to play this again, I'd probably look up a line of sort of like the ideal path to do it all at the appropriate difficulty, and ultimately try to stick to that line as much as possible. Yeah, funny story. My cat is a fairly common as a nickname for some reason. You're the only mad cat that I know. You know, I saw a mad cat in this, but I know that it's not you. Yeah. But yeah, but yeah, I think something also that RetroTed mentioned is like, unless you... Oh, additional Kickstarter backers? Am I in this grouping? How many groupings of these is there? Alright, we're waiting. We're going to see this credits through to the end. We got another hour before I sign off anyway. Cameron McDonald, 2 of 2. I'm guessing they had the name in there twice? Or did somebody actually... See, you could do so much trolling in this, just by having your name in and saying 1 of 3. Or 2 of 3, and then just make people wonder, where's the 1 of 3 and the 3 of 3? Nobody wants it, flibbity flop. But yeah, play it again with a quest list, and try to stick to it and, you know, see how it goes. That might offer a smoother experience, but that's not something that I enjoy. It's like sitting there with a list of quests and it's like, okay, do this one next. And then this one. And then when you get stuck on there, alright, I didn't put it under that name. Gonna have to go backwards for a moment. Because these came in very thick and fast. Alright, I didn't put my name down as my other alias, my real name, or... Let's go a little bit quicker. I don't think Chiron... Yeah. Yeah, it's not down as Chiron. Okay, right. Skip forward a little bit. There we go. Yeah, RetroTem mentioned that, so like some of the questions they were asking you, it's like, oh, why did you make this decision in your past life? You know, and you're given a bunch of question or answers to a question that you've not really been mentally prepped for. You know, one of the things that Pathfinder Kingmaker did very well, and I feel that they did it fairly well, was any keywords related to lore in the game, it's highlighted, and you could hover over it, and you could look over to the side and got a little bit of a glossary answer out of it. So, you know, if you hovered over the word Serum Ray, it would tell you about the goddess of redemption and life and birth and all happy fun things. Alright, let's go back to just talking because we've finally made it out of the credits. Let's get some background music going. Nobody wants it. Flibbity flob. There we go. And so it's all like, you know, if you follow the way of Elora 2 or Serum Ray as a player who's not been engrossed in the world, you're kind of left wondering, and it's like, I don't know which either of these gods. I don't know what they believe and they believe. Why are you asking me to make a choice between the two? I just, at this moment in time, you're just giving me 2 names and saying pick one. You know, they're obviously got an ethos and a sort of like a doctrine and mentality to them. Because, you know, that's what deities represent in a lot of role-playing games. It's a very structured mentality and a very structured way of doing things. But it's giving you no hint. There's no accessibility there. And, you know, it's like, oh, Magram was one of them. And it's like, I still don't quite know what she represented other than she liked to burn things with fire. And the NPC companion you had called her a whore. I don't think that was the entirety of their backstory of the god, but, you know, without those external references, it becomes very difficult to follow what the characters are talking about. And, you know, in a video game, it's a very ideal way of... Keep looking down at the film, but it's actually there on screen now. It's a very good method for imbuing the game with the lore just by having them, you know, hovering over it and it's saying, oh, you know, this is a god of this and this is a god of this. And you can also build on that. You know, you can start, if you really wanted, having people want to know more by letting them know at the start. There are some things that is common knowledge to everybody, but if you hover over a name and there's more knowledge to be gained through some interaction in the game, it just has a bit of a question mark right at the bottom, giving you a hint that there's some more to know about this. And I guarantee you that there will be a lot of people who will go, I want to reveal that in the information of that question mark, especially if you give it some kind of reward at the end of it. You know, with deities, it's fairly easy. Once you've got, 4 pieces of information about the deity, you can go to a temple and you can make a dedication in that deity's name, and it gives you this minor boon. And I guarantee you, people will spend a long time going around and finding out all the information and trivia about this god so that they can get access to that boon. They may never reasonably need that boon. That boon may be so trivial that it doesn't really impact the gameplay at all, but people will seek out that lore to gain that boon. And that's how you get people engrossed in it, not just by overloading them with this wonderful setting. I mean, I'm guessing that there's a lot more to this setting than I actually kind of realized. People rave on about it as being a good game. And I'm not saying that it's not a good game. I'm just saying that I can remember the name of one god, Magdalene and Wodica. There was a few others. Either he believed in a god who turned out to be an arsehole, or maybe got blown up. Or was that the other god who he was fighting against? I literally cannot remember, and that seemed to be a fairly major plot point at the start of the game. I can't even remember the 2 god names. That is not a way of getting people engrossed and into it, by being obscure and being, yes, okay, this is me, I can forget anything. I can forget whatever you want. Just tell me what you need me to forget, and I will forget it instantly. But there's other games, that I can get interested and pay attention to, settings. It's just the way that it's been introduced to me. Most of the time, in terms of Pathfinder, it's been an interest in the tabletop role-playing game, and reading about it through that, and learning about it through playing the game. But always then, it's like, oh, the name that you mentioned there, what's that about? And it's, oh, it's the name of the deity. And, oh, is it common knowledge of what their beliefs are? And it's like, oh, make me a roll. And it's like, yeah, it's fairly common knowledge that they got a blah, 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 blah. And it's like, cool, great stuff. I'll remember it. In this, it's like, oh, do you believe in the holy word of blah, blah, blah? And it's like, I don't even know who blah, blah, blah is. You're going to give me a clue here? And it's like, you heathen for not believing in blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I'm not sorry. I don't know. And a lot of the deep and meaningful, profound questions that you get asked in this game, and it's like, I have absolutely no context for any of this. So yeah, there's that. Pillars of Eternity, okay game, interesting mechanics. Enjoyed the experience, not so much the setting. Feel that it could do with being refined in a couple of places. I'm still kind of curious. I'm going to probably leave Pillars of Eternity 2, Deadfire, for a while. And eventually get around to playing that, but because of my experiences of Pillars of Eternity, I'm probably not going to be jumping on that anytime this year. I also feel like this is the other thing, and again, potentially on the accessibility side of things. there's a lot of, sort of like looking at the potions, and it's like, oh, this potion, it gives this for this long, and it's like, most of them felt very redundant because it wasn't clear to me in some cases what the potions of the spells and the rest of it were doing. I think I managed most of this playthrough without using any potions. I might have used one or two right at the start of the game where it's like, oh, you're nearly dead, and I've got a potion for that. Click, and done it. But after that, it's like, if you get knocked out, you get knocked out. Just walk it off. I can't be asked fishing out a potion. I didn't explore the foods, I didn't explore the rituals, because I just didn't feel like they would bring enough to it, and I might be right, I might be wrong in there. I have a feeling that if you play it on higher difficulties, you might be reliant on more on those things, but they weren't really consistently laid out in a way that was easy to access. Yeah. And the wording was like sometimes confusing, because it's like, it's saying this, but what does that actually mean? It's not going to give you a breakdown of what it actually means, or put it into terms that you might be able to understand, And I'll admit, yes, this is something that many games don't really do. It's like, in Pathfinder Kingmaker, it's like, oh, you get a +1 sword, you get a +1 on your rolls to attack. What does that mean if you don't really know? You don't know until you actually sit down and do the math and figure it out, which I think they gave you most of the numbers for in this game. It's just, because it's a system that I'm not familiar with, I didn't know what the math meant. A +10 to deflection means what to me? It means that my deflection's gone up, which means that I'm harder to hit. That's useful, but is +10 to your deflection means that you're impossible to hit, less likely to be hit, or it's actually not going to make that much of a difference, so don't bother with it, kind of to hit? Don't know. And, the same applies. Pathfinder Kingmaker, it's like a +1 to hit doesn't mean anything to anybody. Unless you sit down and do the math. So, there's that. Can't think of much else to say. Still got 40 minutes to this stream, or my usual stream ending time. Don't have Yakuza Like a Dragon set up, and that will be the next game that I'll be playing on Tuesdays and Thursdays, starting it this Thursday. All being well. He says, thinking, is it MechWarrior weekend? But I'm sure MechWarrior week, but I'm pretty sure we just had MechWarrior week, so it won't be. But yeah, on Thursday I'll be back playing Rimworld. Yeah, I could do some Rimworld for. I could do. No, not this week. Gonna try some solo Phasma. You're trying solo Phasma. Good luck to you. Right now, that yeah, I'll play some Rimworld, or I'll try and get some Rimworld happening. I just need to go into this and get the game running. Hopefully. And duplicate that. No, not that one. That one. No, I want you to duplicate. Screw it. I don't need this to work next week. Is Rimworld running? Are you gonna run for me? You actually gonna do the thing that I asked you to do? But yeah. So while I get that in place, because I'll probably end up cutting this Rimworld off the end of the video when it goes up to YouTube. You can usually find me here Tuesdays and Thursdays, where I play where I have been playing Pillars of Eternity. I'll be moving on to Yakuza Like a Dragon. On Fridays, I have been playing Bioshock, and I'll be moving on to Resident Evil 7 this week. So this really is a week of new games. Although next week on Tuesday it won't be Yakuza Like a Dragon, it will be, I'm probably going to do a bit of a marathon stream about it, Dune Spice Wars, which hopefully will be out on early access this time next week, and I will be playing that for as long as my voice holds out, and as long as my internet doesn't crap out. It's likely to be some bonus streams over those few days, just because I feel like playing it as much as possible when it comes out. But do not be surprised if it doesn't happen. You know, there's every chance that you know, something will occur that will mean that it has to be put on hold. You know, delay in the launch of the game. Delay in the let's see if that works. You gonna work for me? Why? Can't tell if that's working. Options, take it off full screen, keep it for now, move that to one side. Oh, okay, that's actually working. Right, go back to full screen, keep those settings, close that. So yeah, I'll be back next Tuesday playing some Dune, and then back to my usual streaming schedule, Tuesday, Thursdays, Yakuza Like a Dragon, and then Resident Evil 7 until the end. On the Fridays. So yeah, and if you're watching this up on YouTube, the video is probably going to end around about now. But you know, if you want to pop along, join me in my chat. There'll be a link below, and also from here we have a Discord where we talk about all things gaming geekery, including wheelie bins and how do you maintain which wheelie bin you put out each week. Join that riveting conversation over on the Discord now. Daddy bye.